Okay, so I'm doing pads and rotors on my '07 Dodge Ram 1500. I figured I'd show you what's involved here. I had a bad shimmy in the front every time you put the brakes on. I thought maybe it was the pads and rotors are bad, but I found a bad tie rod here. So that's probably my problem, but I'm still going to change the pads and everything anyway, just so they're new. When you go to change them, got 4 bolts to hold your caliper on. There's 2 for the caliper and 2 for the bracket, and I've already got these broke free and the tire off and everything. So, but these bolts that hold your caliper on are 1/2 inch, and these ones here are 15/16. These hold this bracket right here on, and that's what holds your pads. And so I'll go ahead and take this off. Just make sure you watch so you don't lose your bolts. Put them somewhere where you can find them. I'll try to get this caliper off of here. I'll get this off and I'll show you. Okay, so I got that off. You want to make sure you support it somehow. Mine are dual pistons from the factory, but you don't want it hanging by your brake line, because that could break it or crack it, and then when you put on the brakes sometime that could blow out, so you don't want that. So just try to find a way to support it up, and you could take wire and hang it from somewhere up here or whatever, it don't matter. But as you can see, you got the pads here now, so you can take them out. And these are anti-rattle clips, and a lot of pads don't come with them, so you're gonna want to save these little things right here, so when you put your new pads on, you can save them or put them back on. And these pads I replaced, but the rotor that was on here was bad, so these pads are short, so I gotta replace them. But now we'll take these 2 bolts, you can see that one there and this one here, take these out. That one's already off, and this whole assembly comes off. Set it down there. That's what holds your caliper on. And a lot of times if your rotors are new or from original, they'll have a little thing on here to hold this tight, and you'll have to pull that off. It's just like a little washer thing. You pull that off, and then your rotor should come off. Sometimes they're stuck on there, you gotta beat them with a hammer stuff, but if you're replacing it, it really don't matter if you hurt the rotor or not, because you'll be throwing it away anyway. I'll be turning mine in for scrap, but I'll get this off and I'll show you how to put them back on. As you can see, I broke this free with my BFH. So now you just pull this off, and these rotors are really heavy, right? Good 30 pounds at least. No wonder these trucks weigh 3,300 pounds. But we'll be replacing it with a new one. And when you go to put these on, make sure you have some brake cleaner or something like that, because when they package these, they put oil on them to keep them from rusting. And if you don't get all that oil off there, it'll glaze over your pads and your rotor, and you might as well not have any brakes at all, because they won't stop you at all. So just make sure you always clean off the oil from your rotor so that it doesn't contaminate your pads and all that. So I'll get this out and clean it up, and we'll get it put back on, and I'll show you the reverse of it. Okay, so I got the rotor out of the bag. I got it here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but all that stuff on there is oil, and you gotta get all that off. So what you do is just take your brake cleaner and a clean rag, and just spray it down really good. Take your rag and wipe it all off. You don't want any of that crap on your pads. And you get the front and the back. Just like that. Flip it over, spray the back. Don't be afraid to use it, 'cause the better you clean it, the better off you are. So set you down here. And these things are hard to handle with one hand, so nasty. So there it is on there. I'll give it another squirt. I still got a little bit of oil here and there, but it's pretty much cleaned off. And then you just put the 15/16 bolts back in the bracket there. Put your new pads on. Just make sure your hands aren't greasy when you put your pads on, and then you'll get grease on your rotor, and same thing will happen. You'll glaze over and you won't have no brakes. So, but I'll show you what it looks like all back together. Okay, as you can see, I got everything back together. New rotor, and this bracket's all back on and tightened down, and the pads are in with the little clips. You want to always make sure your pads move nice and smooth in the grooves. That way they come away from your rotor when you're done putting the brakes on, because you don't want them catching against there and burning up. If they aren't, you'll have to clean these little grooves in here, or get a new one of these brackets But okay, so now I gotta put the caliper back on, but in order to do that I gotta push those two little pistons back up in there. And when you go to do that, you want to take the lid off or unloosen it. You can leave it on there, just make sure you undo that so it doesn't create pressure in here, and the fluid will just push up into here. And then when you go, after you're done, you step on the brakes a few times and it'll go back into the caliper and it'll be alright. But yeah, what you do is you take something like a C-clamp like this or whatever, and you stick it on there and you just squeeze them back up in there, and then it'll let you put it over your pads a lot easier. And then you just bolt it back up. Okay, so as you can see now, I got both of these pushed back in, and now the caliper can go back on. Usually if you put the bottom in first, because there's like a groove here that sits in there, excuse me, and then you push it in, it usually goes a lot easier. Then you put the bolts back in, put the tire on, you're good to go. Okay, here we go, all back together, bolted in. And another tip for you, these little things right here slide, let your caliper float back and forth. You gotta make sure that these move back and forth like this, because that lets your caliper slide back and forth like this because it floats. And if these aren't working, it's gonna wear your pads uneven because it ain't gonna let it move back and forth. So always make sure these are loose, and if you can get them out, just put some anti-seize in this. This is drilled out in here for it, so you just put some anti-seize in there and work it back and forth on both of them, and then your pads won't wear funny. But that's all you gotta do. And put the tire back on and let her down, you're good to go. Thanks for watching, hope I helped you out. Hopefully I can post some more videos soon. Bye.